There comes a moment in every soul's journey where the silence of the world becomes too loud, where every reflection in the mirror feels like a stranger's gaze, and where your own voice trembles at the thought of self-worth. That moment, fragile yet transformative, is not meant to break you. It is meant to awaken you. It is in that stillness, in that unsettling quiet, that the whisper of self-love begins to bloom. Not the kind that demands applause or seeks validation, but the kind that embraces your scars, your chaos, and your entire being without flinching. That is the art of loving yourself to the core. A love not built in the spotlight, but cultivated in the shadows, when no one is watching and yet you choose to rise. Accept your imperfections as masterpieces in progress. There is a strange kind of beauty that only those who have walked through storms can understand. The kind of beauty that does not reside in perfect smiles or spotless lives, but in the quiet acceptance of brokenness that still chooses to shine. When you look into the mirror, the world may have taught you to search for flaws, dark circles, scars, unevenness, too much of something, too little of something else. But have you ever dared to look past the surface and ask yourself, what have I survived to become this version of me? The truth is, your imperfections are not shortcomings. They are souvenirs from battles you didn't think you'd win. They are reminders that you were once shattered but did not remain in pieces. The world teaches you to hide these parts of yourself, to cover them in filters and falsehoods. But what if you wore them like medals? What if you saw every flaw as an unfinished brushstroke on the canvas of your becoming? The nose you think is too big, the voice you think is too soft, the laugh that escapes too loudly, the silence that feels too long, these are not accidents in your design. They are your fingerprints, your signature, your soul etched into this human experience. And loving yourself begins when you stop editing the very essence of who you are. You were never meant to be symmetrical. You were never meant to fit into someone else's template of beauty or strength. You are a story being written in real time. You are not a final draft. You are a living poem, sometimes messy, sometimes profound, but always worthy of being read with soft eyes and a tender heart. You will spend your whole life changing, evolving, shedding old skins and growing new ones. And in that process, it is your acceptance seen with perfection that will save you. You don't need to earn love by becoming flawless. You need to return to yourself by embracing your flaws as teachers, as allies, as mirrors. When you can sit with your weaknesses without trying to fix them, when you can be alone with your pain and still say, I am worthy, then something magical happens. You begin to shift from someone seeking approval to someone resting in truth. And the truth is, you are not broken, you are becoming. Every scar you carry is proof that something tried to destroy you and failed. Every line on your face is a song written in survival. Every imperfection is a chapter in your courage. And your journey is not incomplete because of your wounds, it is made whole by them. You were not born to be a statue in a museum. You were born to be alive, real, expressive, beautifully raw. You were born to cry, to fall, to laugh too hard, to feel too much. You were born to be fully, unapologetically human. The shame you feel is not yours to hold. It was planted there by a world that profits from your self-doubt. Let it go. Return to yourself. Look in the mirror and don't search for mistakes. Search for resilience. Search for light that refused to be extinguished. When you shift the narrative from I'm not good enough to I'm growing, from I'm broken to I'm unfolding, then love no longer becomes a goal to reach it, becomes the soil you root yourself in. You are not late to your healing. You are not behind in your journey. There is no timeline on self-acceptance. There is only the now, the breath you're taking, the truth you're holding quietly within your ribs. Speak softly to your reflection. Tell yourself things no one ever told you. Be the voice that says, you don't have to earn rest. You don't have to deserve joy. You don't have to wait to be whole, you already are. When you begin to accept your imperfections, you stop searching for validation in empty places. You stop begging people to love you in ways you don't love yourself. You stop needing to be chosen because you realize you already are by your own breath, your own heartbeat, your own existence. You don't need to be extraordinary to be enough. You don't need to be successful to be seen. You don't need to be fixed to be loved. You just need to be seen by your own eyes with softness and truth. You are allowed to take up space even if your life feels incomplete. You are allowed to be loved even if you're still healing. You are allowed to be loved even if you're still healing. You are allowed to exist fully right now as you are. Rebuild a relationship with your inner child. There was a time in your life when you believed in magic, in your dreams, in the possibility of flying without wings. You painted stars on paper and believed they were real. You danced in the rain without wondering how you looked. That child still lives in you, still waits for you to come back home to pick them up and say, I haven't forgotten you. But life happened. Disappointments piled on like bricks. Expectations became louder than imagination. Pain silenced laughter, and slowly, without even realizing it, you abandoned that part of yourself that used to believe without proof. And now, in the quiet, you feel the ache of that absence, the emptiness of forgetting the child you once were. That inner child does not need you to fix everything. That child just wants to be acknowledged, to be held in the warmth of your presence, not for what they did or didn't do, but simply for existing. When you start rebuilding that connection, you begin to soften. You begin to understand that the parts of you you once hated were just scared pieces asking for love. You don't need to do anything extraordinary to heal that child. Sometimes it starts with small things, talking kindly to yourself when you make a mistake, giving yourself permission to rest, allowing yourself to laugh too loudly, or cry when no one understands why. The love you were waiting to receive as a child may never come from the people you hoped would give it. But you have the power now. You can choose to be the parent, the protector, the best friend that your younger self needed. There's a sacredness in placing your hand over your heart and whispering, you did your best, little one. I see you now. I won't leave you again. That's not weakness. That's revolution. That's healing at the root. Sometimes, when you feel anxious or angry without reason, it's your inner child crying for attention. Not to punish you, but to remind you that there is still tenderness waiting to be felt, still stories waiting to be rewritten with compassion, and you don't need to go back in time to fix what happened. You just need to be present now, to let the child inside you know, the world may not have been safe, but I will be safe for you. The world may not have listened, but I will hear every word you say. When you honor the child within, you begin to understand why you overthink, why you people please, why you fear rejection. You realize it wasn't about being weak, it was about being unprotected. And now you are here to protect yourself. You begin to laugh again without guilt, to speak your truth without trembling, to create not for approval, but for the sheer joy of expression. You begin to live like the child you once were, only stronger, wiser, softer. Your innocence wasn't lost, it was buried under survival. And now that you are here, now that you are safe, you can begin the excavation of joy, the resurrection of self-love. Don't rush the process. Healing the inner child is not a checklist. It's a daily commitment to return to tenderness, to make decisions from love, not fear. You're not too old to play, you're not too broken to heal. You are not too far gone to return home to yourself. Hold that child with both hands and whisper, you're not too much. You're not too sensitive. You're not too emotional. You are perfect, exactly as you are. You'll begin to notice that as your inner child heals, so do your patterns. You stop searching for love in unsafe places because you've created safety within yourself. Set boundaries as a form of self-respect. There comes a point in your life when you realize that love without respect is not love at all. It is comfort dressed in chains. It is silence forced into submission. It is kindness used as currency. And until you learn to protect your own heart, the world will keep teaching you the same painful lesson that without boundaries, you become a mirror that reflects everyone's needs but your own. You are not here to be everything for everyone. You are not responsible for carrying the weight of every broken person who knocks at your door. You are not selfish for saying no. You are not cruel for choosing yourself. You are simply someone who has finally understood the sacredness of peace. Boundaries are not about building walls to shut people out, They're about building doors with locks and keys that you hold, not out of fear, but out of self respect. Because every time you allow someone to overstep your soul, you teach yourself that your value is negotiable, and it never is. There are going to be people who will be upset when you say no, who will accuse you of changing, of being distant. Let them. Your evolution is not meant to make everyone comfortable. Your healing is not meant to be convenient for others. Your growth is not a betrayal, it is a declaration. You have spent too long being too available, too forgiving, too accommodating. And where has it brought you? Tired, confused, lost in a crowd that only applauds when you give, but disappears when you need. That is not love, that is survival. And you deserve more. You deserve to be in spaces where your no is honored, not punished, where your silence is understood, not questioned, where your energy is protected, not drained. And the only way to find those spaces is by walking away from the ones that can't meet you there. It's okay to not pick up every call. It's okay to decline the invitation. It's okay to choose rest over obligation. Because your body, your mind, your soul, they are not machines. They are sacred homes. And if you keep unlocking the doors for everyone else, who will keep your home safe? You are not meant to prove your worth by being endlessly available. You are not meant to prove your love by enduring what hurts you. You are not meant to prove your strength by remaining silent when your heart is screaming for air. You can be kind and firm. You can be loving and assertive. You can be compassionate and unapologetic. Boundaries are the balance between your softness and your strength. They are not rejection. They are direction. Direction to who you are, what you need, and what you will no longer tolerate. Every time you say, "This is not okay with me," you reclaim a piece of yourself that was once handed over in fear, in guilt, in the desperate desire to be liked. But you were not born to be liked. You were born to be loved. And love, real love, honors boundaries. It does not cross them. It does not question them. It does not manipulate them into compromise. It stands beside them with open arms and steady eyes. Let people call you selfish if they must. Let them misunderstand. You are not here to explain your healing. You are here to live it, to breathe in your truth like oxygen, to make space for joy, even if it means shrinking the space for others. Because the truth is, you've always known what you needed. You've always known what felt wrong. You've always heard the quiet whispers of discomfort in your gut. Now is the time to listen, not just hear. Now is the time to act, not just endure. And if you must choose between pleasing others or honoring yourself, always choose yourself. Because when you protect your peace, you teach the world that your soul is sacred ground. And sacred ground must never be walked on without permission. Choose yourself every single day. Every day, life asks you a silent question: will you choose yourself today? And every day, most of us answer with hesitation, with deferral, with sacrifice that looks noble but feels like betrayal. Because choosing yourself is not about putting others down. It's about standing up for the version of you that keeps getting pushed aside for later. You have been conditioned to believe that self-love is selfish, that prioritizing your needs is arrogance, that taking up space must come with apology. But the truth is, your soul did not come here to be an afterthought. Your light was not created to dim in someone else's shadow. Choosing yourself means waking up and deciding that your time, your energy, your attention, they are limited and they are precious. It means no longer pouring into empty cups while your own runs dry. It means saying, "I matter," not just in words, but in action. And it doesn't have to be loud. Choosing yourself can look like leaving a room that no longer welcomes your voice. It can look like turning down an opportunity that costs your peace. It can look like sitting quietly with a book instead of attending one more event that drains your soul. It's not about isolating yourself from the world. It's about integrating your truth into every moment. It's about aligning with who you are, not who others expect you to be. And when you do that, something shifts. You no longer seek permission to be whole. You simply are. You stop chasing love because you become it. You stop begging to be chosen because you realize you already are. By the very breath in your lungs, by the dreams that still live inside you, by the resilience that whispers, try again. Even after all the failures, you begin to show up differently. Your posture changes, not because of pride, but because of peace. Your eyes hold a softness not from being untouched by pain, but from being held by your own compassion. You move through the world not with arrogance, but with quiet certainty. There is a profound kind of love in choosing yourself, especially when everything around you teaches otherwise. When society applauds self-sacrifice but mocks self-prioritization, when love is measured by how much you lose instead of how much you grow, you were not created to be a constant compromise. You were not created to be loved only when convenient. You were not created to be last on your own list. You were created with intention, with brilliance, with depth and all of that deserves reverence. Choosing yourself may not always feel good at first. It may come with guilt, with loneliness, with fear, but those feelings are not signs that you are wrong. They are signs that you are unlearning a pattern that was never meant to be yours. There is strength and softness in placing your hand over your heart and saying, I am worthy of my own love. There is courage in asking, what do I need today? And then actually listening. There is freedom in living in alignment, even if no one claps for it. Don't wait until you break to begin caring for yourself. Don't wait until your cup is empty to realize you were allowed to drink first. Don't wait until the world gives you permission. You are your own authority. The truth is, every time you choose yourself, you heal the parts of you that were taught you weren't enough. You rewrite the story that said love had to be earned. You reclaim the power that was always yours to begin with, and slowly, silently, powerfully, you fall in love with yourself, not just as an idea, but as a daily devotion. Not just in moments of triumph, but in the quiet moments when no one sees you, and you still choose to show up anyway in the end. And if you ask me what it truly means to love yourself to the core, I will not point you toward glittering mirrors or perfect pictures. I will not tell you it looks like constant confidence or uninterrupted joy. It looks like meeting yourself in the middle of your chaos and choosing to stay. It looks like holding your trembling hands and saying, I will not abandon you again. It looks like sitting with your pain, not rushing it out the door, but listening to what it's been aching to say for years. It's a sacred decisiona, quiet, daily promise that says, I am worthy, not because I've never been broken, but because I have always dared to heal. Loving yourself to the core means no longer waiting for the world to crown you enough. It means you stop searching for reflection in others and start seeing your own worth staring back at you in silence. It means setting down the heavy load of proving, pleasing, performing, and picking up the gentle rhythm of nurturing, forgiving, and honoring. It is not a moment of clarity, it is a lifetime of returning, of remembering, of reclaiming who you were before the world told you otherwise. And maybe, just maybe, it's not about becoming someone new. Maybe it's about becoming you again, the real you, the unfiltered, unashamed, and unshakably whole version of you that existed before the noise, before the pain, before the masks. The you that always knew your worth didn't come from applause, achievements, or approval, it came from within. So if today is the day you finally choose yourself, not because you've done everything right, but because you are tired of fighting yourself, then let it be the most courageous beginning of all. The beginning where you stop waiting to be loved and start becoming the love you were always meant to receive. The beginning where you rewrite the story, not with ink, but with intention. The beginning where you rise, not to impress, but to embrace. The beginning where you rise, not to impress, but to embrace. The beginning where you finally say, not with doubt, but with certainty, I love me fully, fiercely, and to the core. Would you like this formatted as a downloadable speech? Or turned into a script for a video or stage talk?